we will nearly be ready momentarily. Hi everyone, my name is Steve Daly. I am a PhD student in the first year in WIT, and my research involves an SROI framework applied to a feasibility study of a recreational football cooperative which is looking to scale up. So I suppose to put it a little simpler, it involves finding and measuring the outcomes for the stakeholders involved with this league and calculating a euro value return for every euro that is invested. So as the slides would suggest, it's not just a game of ball. There's a little bit more to it than that. So what is more to it than a game of football? Well, it's social connection. So as a species, we're dependent on social connection for our well-being, according to Cook. Having insufficient or maladaptive social relationships poses the same mortality risk as would smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which is actually more than obesity or inactivity. That according to Lundstedt in 2010. And social isolation is also considered a driver of sedentary behavior. That from Robertson in 2014. So physical activity, well, you know, there's an awful lot been talked about. I suppose it's common knowledge now that being physically active is good for you. But research such as Booth in 2012 would suggest that physical activity is very helpful in alleviating a huge amount of chronic conditions. And there's also then the extra thing from the WHO that going from zero or very little physical activity up to some moderate bit of physical activity, or just increasing your physical activity a little bit, can have huge benefits for those who might lead a sedentary or a more sedentary lifestyle. Gender specific, so men, it's suggested are much prefer gender sensitized health interventions. This according to Carroll in 2018. And likewise from Hunk in 2014, community or sports settings are much more preferable to healthcare ones for men. And older research from Artisan in 2011 suggests that while women might find it easier to report loneliness, possibly due to social norms, there's growing support for the argument that men actually experience more loneliness in general. And then from a mental health point of view, meta-analysis from Friedrich and Mason in 2017 suggests that football interventions in general have shown increased well-being and alleviation of mental health symptoms. So I suppose that's some of the pros for why it is a little bit more than just a game of ball. So this particular research then, we had mixed methods approach. So we had quantitative and qualitative. So I'll just talk about the quantitative stuff first. So pre-intervention last year between May 4th and May 25th, we had previously identified the stakeholders into 5 groups. So we had community partners. These are the people who allow the games to go on the pitch that they have. There would be the significant others, the partners of the players, the match coordinators, the guys who run the leagues, bring the nets, pick the teams, that kind of stuff. And then we broke the players into 2 groups. Regular, who would be the guys more than 50% of the time, and regular, the guys who would participate less than 50% of the time they would be available. So we interviewed 10 regular, 4 irregular, 3 match coordinators, 2 significant others, 2 community partners, but no partridges or pear trees were involved at that stage. And what we're doing now at the moment is during the intervention this month and the start of next month is we're going to go back to all these groups to create a full theory of change, an example of which is on the right of the screen there. So this involves the people to identify that they're in the right groups, then the impact that they might have had, and then the outcomes of those impact. So the one on the right there will be just involving with the community partners. So this is Malahide Fingal Hockey Club, what they get out of it as a hockey club and what the individuals who are involved get out of it as well. So we go back to them with that just to create that theory change, to make sure based on our interviews that what we've interpreted is actually the things that they're experiencing, the impact and the outcomes, and that we've got the participants in the right group and stuff like that. And then post-intervention in May this year, we will go back to all these stakeholder groups, and we will hold focus groups and interviews with them again. And at this stage, then they will rank the outcomes that they've experienced, give them a rank, which is the most important to them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they will also put a financial value on that. And we little tools to help them do that. So they might value it like, would it be more important to you than maybe getting double glazing in the house? Would it be less important than maybe a new car? Would it be more important than a holiday? Would it be less important than a weekend away or a night out at a restaurant? And that just helps them put a financial proxy value on that for us. Then from the qualitative point of view, we also did baseline collections at May 14th to 19th last year. This is the first time we actually met the guys in person, a lot of them. And then we did survey collections around the 12th to 20th at that stage as well. So the baseline did on-site collection involved anthropomorphic data such as height, weight, waist, and we also got them to do a little bit of run around in the form of an intermittent yo-yo test, which has been shown to be much more suitable for recreational football because it's not constant running, there's runs and pauses, and that basically measured their fitness or CO2 max level. Then at 3 months on-site again, we were there in end of August, start of September. This particular on-site collection took a little more. This is the reality of real life research, because guys were on holidays and guys were away and guys were forgetting to fill it out and stuff like that. So we had to do a little bit more at that particular location. And then in November, we were back again to do the same thing. And then we'll be also back again in May this year, in a couple of months' time, to do that again. So what we measured as well in the surveys that we asked them, there was demographic information, obviously, but then we had a quality of life survey. We asked them about their sleep quality. There was a loneliness scale index, questions on that, lifestyle related to fruit, vegetables, alcohol, etc. Then self-esteem and mental health questions as well, which were asked in the part of that survey. And then we have that at baseline 3, 6, and 12 months, so we can see any changes and monitor those changes as we go throughout. So I've talked about SRI at the very start. I want to touch back on that because this is an important part of what has actually been done. So an SROI, social return on investment, has certain key principles. The first one being to involve the stakeholders. And so we have to identify those, and then we have to involve those, get interviews and get information from them. So it's very much participant driven, and the stakeholders who use the service, who's involved with the service, people that are external to the service but would kind of tangentially be involved. We have to get information from all those on the impact it's had on them and the outcomes that they've experienced because of it. And then we only include what is material. So when we're saying only what is material, this is what changes. So and what's important to the participants and the stakeholders. So we might go in with an agenda like, well, we want to see the physical outcome and the physical impact. But if the stakeholders are much more talking about the mental or social impact, we need to pay attention to that and build that in as well, because it's not so much about what we're trying to look for, it's about what they experience. And then we have to value the things that matter, as I say. So this is the things that are important. Again, it's all very much stakeholder driven. And then we can't overclaim. So for example, if the participant A lost X amount of weight, we can't just say, well, that's all down to football. So during the surveys, we actually asked the guys, has there been lifestyle changes? Yes or no? If there has been, is it down to the football? Yes or no? If it isn't down to the football, what else were you doing? So it was a very rigorous process that we needed to find out exactly what their experience was and that we weren't overclaiming. This is another important principle of SROI. Then there's the transparency as well. Then we're not just reporting on the good things. So we needed to ask as well questions about, had guys got injured? Were they missing work? Was there external traveling and time lost? Was there financial outlay? Was there a negative impact in the fact that, was it always a positive experience? So we need to include that as well in our data and in our results. And then we need to get that verified. So we go back to the players involved, and we go back for independence insurance using proxies and other measures that can verify what we're saying is actually true. So just to briefly go through then some of the findings then that we had. So as regards to participation, we had 94% uptake with the participants. So that was very, very good in that there was only 6% of the time that there was empty spaces or guys who didn't turn up or weren't available. So there was 137 participants altogether. This is from May to January. So the reason it's only started in May is because of COVID restrictions, and even then it started at limited numbers. So these numbers we could expect actually be bigger during this coming year. Some of the outcome data then, this is, I suppose, that the real world finding is that the average weight loss amongst participants was 3 kilos and the average waist change was 3 centimeters. And related to the self-report survey, 40% of the guys modified their behavior as a result of playing football. So they made positive lifestyle changes because they were playing. And then I suppose there was a 3-2-1 finding as well here. So almost 3/4 of the participants reported a physical benefit, half the participants reported a mental health benefit, and 1/3 of the participants reported a social benefit from being involved. Now, this information is only up to this point, so we're hoping those figures might get a little bigger, maybe they'll get a little smaller, but this is not a full analysis. This is just at our 6-month data point at this stage. And I suppose for all that data, it's nice as well to finish up maybe on a little personal story from one of the participants. So when I interviewed this guy last year, he hadn't played in a couple of months, and he was very vocal about the effect it was having on his mental health and how it was detrimental in that. And as it happened, I was interviewing the night before they were due to go back to play, and I just finished at the end, and I said, "Look, you're one of the lucky ones that are getting to play tomorrow." And he said, "Yes, Steve, I am." So, are you looking forward to that? So his quote really stuck out in my mind, and I always remember it, because he said, "I'm going to go to bed tonight and dream about scoring goals, and tomorrow I'm going to make that dream come true." And I was really touched by that particular quote. So I suppose it is more than just a game of football to these guys. It's something that really has a huge and positive impact on their life, and something that hopefully we'll be able to measure and hopefully use for the benefit of more guys around the country and around the world to get a bit of football in their life and make some positive changes for them. Thanks very much for listening today.